All right, we are officially recording. I am recording this webinar, and the webinar itself and any of our forms and materials that I will be going over today will be posted on the Food Bank's website under agency resources and forms for you guys to be able to go through and look at more in depth on your own time and utilize as well. Just a side note, if you don't happen to see it there today, please give us till like the end of the week to work out any kinks of posting it on the website and stuff. So bear with us, please. I'll blame it on the snow. All right, so like I said, thank you for joining us. This is the third webinar and the conclusion to the Food and Culture series that we started at the beginning of last year. If you didn't attend one or any of the previous webinars, don't worry. We will be recapping some of the highlights from those webinars throughout our presentation today. So with that being said, give me a second and I'm going to share my screen with you so that you guys can see this. Presentation. Give me a second. All right, so our food and culture series. In recent years, the food bank has made great strides in moving from an organization that focused on getting more food to more people to making sure that we provide nutritious and wholesome food. While we've worked on that, we haven't really prioritized the preferences of the people from different cultural backgrounds as much. As we all know, food pantry guests from different cultural backgrounds may have different food preferences, experience language barriers, feel uncomfortable going to food pantries that may not understand their cultural backgrounds. We want to change this so all pantry guests can receive familiar, culturally appropriate foods when they visit the food pantries for assistance. Last year, through a grant from CDPHP and with assistance from the Food Bank of the Rockies, we kicked off the Culturally Responsive Food Initiative as a commitment to working towards better serving all of our community members equitably. As part of the Culturally Responsive Food Initiative, we kicked things off with a food and culture webinar series. And like I said, in a little bit, I'm going to highlight some of those key takeaways from our webinar, from those webinars. I will also talk about our cultural needs survey that was conducted and the great tools and ongoing assessment those survey responses created rather. And finally, we'll talk about our Just Say Yes to Fruits and Vegetables program and their Healthy Pantry initiative and how it can help your pantry with some of the cultural barriers you may face. Okay, so let's start things off the same way we did 1 year ago. With everybody taking it and getting a chance, please, to unmute yourselves and name a food or dish that reminds you of your childhood. And Carrie, I'm gonna put it out there. I can't see the chat box. You can read off.
I have one. I have one.
Yes, please share.
Tuna casserole when times were tough.
Oh, tuna casserole. Yes. Casserole. Yeah.
We called the same dish Hollywood chicken because it sounded fancier.
I love it.
It's funny. I was telling Kristen yesterday that growing up, my mom was a single mom, 4 kids, working, no money. We had peanut butter French toast a lot, and I thought that was pretty special. I didn't understand why, but my kids love it to this day.
God, that sounds good. I'm gonna have to try that.
I have one.
Sorry about the feedback too, everybody. Everybody be unmuted.
I have one.
Yes.
Coming from a single, working mom with 3 kids. My mom gave us a lot of white rice with fried egg. That was the popular one. Coming from a Latina family.
Oh, I love it.
And they very good.
I have one here as well. Pasta visual on Friday evenings.
Mm,
Pasta with green peas was a staple, like at least once, twice a month.
Oh, yum.
We also have, corned beef pan, right, right? That was the popular. I think it's gone up in price. It used to be $2, $6.
Hi, my,
Sorry, Millie. Can you unmute yourself again?
oh, hi, I like, sorujitos. They are cornmeal fritters. You could do them, sweet or savory, or
Oh.
fill them with cheese or meat.
Delicious. Ooh. All right, in the chat box, I actually am able to see it now. I've got some, there's farina, meatloaf. We've got Sue's matzo ball soup. I put that picture up there just for you, Sue. Let's see here. I'm a vegetarian now, but as a child, my favorite food memory is Rieno de Papas. I'm sorry for the pronunciation. Light fried potato balls stuffed with seasoned ground beef. Delicious. Ooh, chicken a la king. That's one of the ones I remember that growing up. Best way to doctor up leftover chicken with a can of cream of mushroom soup and frozen peas. And potato frittata. Oh, these are all great, guys. Wonderful. All right, I'm going to make sure that we're all muted again. Hopefully that helped with that the background feed there. All right. So that's how we started our very first workshop a year ago today, kind of getting our heads around some of the things, some of the traditions and cultural foods of our own childhood, our own lives. So then what we did, in our second workshop, we looked at, or no, actually in our first workshop, I'm sorry, we looked at food and cultures throughout a variety of different perspectives. Hold on. I got mixed up here. I'm a slide ahead of everybody. We began our food and culture series by defining what food and culture really means in our life. We discussed the ever-changing layout of cultures in our communities and what impact foods made on those cultures. We define food. What is food? So yes, food is sustenance and it's necessary for life. It's fuel for our bodies. It's the energy our bodies, and gives us the energy our bodies need to do the things that we needed to do. But food really is tied to our identities too, and who we really are. Many people began our workshops way back a year ago with the thought that culture may just refer solely to people who might have immigrated to the US, but that's just really a small piece of what culture really encompasses. A culture could be formed on the basis of geography, religion, socioeconomic status, family traditions, and so many more factors. Some other examples of food and culture could be Catholics who don't eat meat on Fridays during Lent. In northern Italy, did you know that their cooking methods are more based out of starting recipes with butter due to the dairy herds? But if you go to southern Italy, their cuisine is more based in oil because of the olive crops. Other cultures could have ordering pizzas on Friday nights, or the Islamic practice of halal. So then we went on to our second workshop and we looked at culture and food through a variety of different perspectives. We started by exploring the impact that the lack of familiar food has on the lives and traditions of the families we serve. Imagine yourself in the shoes of some of the guests that visit your pantry. Maybe they don't speak English. Are they juggling the stress of trying to find a job, getting transportation? Are they putting kids through school? Are they trying to navigate the ins and outs of assistance programs like SNAP or TANF, WIC, healthcare and medical assistance? And throw on top of all that, the stress of making sure that you're feeding your family. Well, we listened to a couple of clients from different pantries. We had some wonderful people come on and share their experiences of visiting food pantries, especially when their food pantry doesn't necessarily have the foods of their culture. And they shared their experience with us. And some of the things we learned from these wonderful people that came and shared with us is that most often clients were afraid to ask for what they really wanted and really needed. And this could be due to the language barrier, but it might also be formed based on not wanting to seem ungrateful for what they're being given. One of the ladies shared that they had to drive 2.5 hours to New York City to get foods that they were familiar with. But then with the cost of living, they decided that it wasn't feasible for them to make that drive as much. So they had to visit the pantries, and the lady stated that they had to take whatever they gave us. After hearing from the clients, we also asked some of the pantry coordinators to share how they responded to the ever-evolving needs of the people that came through the doors. That went in the wrong direction. One of the major hurdles was, again, the language barrier that held the coordinators and the volunteers in the food pantries back from understanding the needs of their clients. And a couple of them even stated that even with an interpreter, there was still that struggle there. Another pantry found that quite often they had to demystify some of the products for their clients. One coordinator shared the story of how she had to describe how to prepare and how to work with the dried potato flakes. Her guest had only ever cooked with the fresh potatoes, whole, real fresh potatoes, and had no idea what to do with a box of potato flakes. So she had to break that down and explain how to work with it. And I remember her saying that although still a little hesitant, she did take the potato flakes and was able to work with them. But some of the guests that came to their food pantry didn't have as much confidence in themselves to work with that. Another pantry coordinator in that workshop explained that she constantly has to remind herself and her volunteers that I am not my customer. And with that being said, your likes and dislikes are totally different, and also your food knowledge may differ as well. So those were some of the challenges that we faced. So after, aside from conducting the food and culture series, as one way to get discussions and communication going, we also wanted to hear more from our clients. So another step in our culturally responsive food initiative was to conduct a cultural needs survey. So last spring, we researched, created, and conducted our survey in 20 different pantries across our service area. The pantries that were selected to participate had a really rich cultural melting pot because we wanted to get feedback from as many different cultures as we possibly could throughout our service area. And we also made sure that while conducting these surveys, translations and assistance were available when they were needed. So the survey started off by asking what country or culture the participants identified with, so that we had an understanding where the answers were coming from. And then from there, it asked questions about what proteins, dairies, grains, fruits, vegetables, the beans or legumes, flours, and spices they preferred to use or use most often, and or what any of these categories they would like to see more of in their pantry. The survey also dove into questioning if they preferred canned or dried beans or fresh, frozen, canned, or dried fruits and vegetables. And they were also asked if there were any foods that weren't available in their pantry that they would like to see more of, and if their culture had any holidays that required specific foods. So after the surveys were conducted, we partnered that with some extensive research. It helped us to create the cultural food preference sheets. So we took all of that information and again, all of the research that we did, and we created the preference sheets. And these sheets cover some of the different regions and cultures within our service area. But there are so many different cultures that we couldn't encompass them all. So we tried to get some of the larger cultural populations that we serve. With that being said, I do want to note that we 100% acknowledge that food preferences, even within cultures, vary significantly. Our goal is that you can use these sheets as a general tool or guide to help serve the needs of your clients. All right, so you see a snapshot here. I am going to switch my screen so that we can showcase some of the I can show you the surveys or the food and culture sheets. Give me a minute here. I'm not as fast on a computer. All right. So these are just some of the food and culture sheets. And again, like I said, bear with us. They will be posted on the food bank website. The sheets start out with a general overall cover page that encompasses a lot of the highlights from all the different cultures combined. Most, if not all, of the cultures generally asked to focus on fresh produce. They preferred the fresh produce, the fresh, wholesome fruits, vegetables, grains, proteins, and also in most cases they asked to avoid canned foods. Many of the immigrant families may not have had canned foods in their home country. The other overall general takeaway was that they asked to avoid the pre-seasoned or pre-packaged meats and pastas. So it allows more flexibility to customize flavors of the meals to fit within the cultures. And again, the focus and the request was more on providing the whole foods, fresh whole tomatoes instead of pasta sauce, whole ingredients as much as possible. So each country, or each cultural area, I should say, was broken down and lists were created such as this. So we've got the Middle East, we've got Caribbean culture, East Asia, African, Eastern European, South Asian, and Latino. All right, so those are what our sheets looked like. Let me get back to our presentation here. And again, I will have time for questions about these. And I'm not going into too much detail on them. You can find them on the website and you can ask questions. I'll be answering questions at the end about these sheets. All right, but they were really generally just created as it's a really great tool that we can use to pull for a bunch of different avenues. So not only will they hopefully be helpful for your pantries to maybe use as guides as to what foods you may want to have available based on the different cultures, but they can also be used to pull ideas for food drive requests. So our food industry and relations department has already utilized these tool sheets to update their food and fun drive, and you'll see how they have added some cultural foods down at the bottom that have been pulled from the sheets. And you as the pantries can use this as well to update any flyers or request sheets that you might have for fundraisers, food drives, that sort of thing. Okay. And finally, also here at the food bank, we also started using this tool already to help drive discussions and assessments as to what products we could potentially be bringing into our inventory. So please sit back and we will be having some of those items for you available coming soon. We'll be having these discussions to see what items we should be getting into our inventory. Okay. And at the food bank here, we understand that there are challenges to meeting the needs of the changing cultures within your pantries. The food and culture series, if nothing more, has just driven that into us hardcore. So we are here to help. You may have heard about the Healthy Pantry Initiative. It's a program that the Just Say Yes to Fruits and Vegetables program has been helping pantries implement for over 5 years now. The Healthy Pantry Initiative's goal is to influence the food pantry environment in ways that will encourage customers to be aware of and select healthier options when shopping in the pantry. Basically what HPI is what we call it is, it uses the same marketing strategies that you find in like your common grocery stores to promote healthy, wholesome options in the food pantry. And we call these strategies that we implement nudges. Some examples for this could be something as basic as putting it on shelf tags or signs that can draw attention to products on the shelves. Your eyes tend to be drawn towards something that pops and shines. So whether it's a picture of a giant star next to a healthier item, or let's say a poster or recipe hanging near an item. Recipes actually are another nudge that you can utilize by highlighting a healthy item such as black beans in a recipe and providing the recipe for it, and as many of the ingredients in that recipe. That helps too. The way you stock your shelves at your pantry. Have you ever noticed in the grocery store, the more expensive products are at your eye level or that of your kids, so right around there. The lower cost options are either at the tippy top or at the bottom of the shelves. So by having things at eye level, so it could be the first thing somebody sees, that's another example of a nudge. So using all of that really helps sort of sell your product, sell the healthier items to your guests. So the JSY nutritionist, myself and Sarah, can work with your pantry through the Healthy Pantry Initiative to find ways to help overcome some of these challenges, cultural challenges that we were talking about, to help meet the needs of your guests. So if you would like assistance, please reach out to your nutritionist. Again, Sarah works out of the food bank of the Hudson Valley, and she covers the counties Columbia, Dutchess, Orange, Putnam, Rockland, Sullivan, and Ulster County, and her contact information is there. And I cover Albany, Clinton, Columbia, Delaware, Essex, Franklin, Fulton, Greene, Hamilton, Montgomery, Otsego, Rensselaer, Saratoga, Schenectady, Schoharie, Warren, and Washington counties. So please, if you have any questions or concerns, big or small, as to how we can, how to work to implement more food within the cultures you serve, please reach out to us, and we would love to brainstorm with you on different tips that we can help you with. It may be something as small as getting translations done. It could be something as big as, like I said, rearranging your pantry. What we do through the Healthy Pantry Initiative is work on finding nudges that work best for your pantry and are easy enough for you to implement without too much of a hassle. All right. So we would really love to help you out with that. So with that being said, what questions do you have for me on the, whether it's the food preference sheets, whether it's food drives, whether it's Healthy Pantry Initiative? What questions do you have for me? I'm going back through some of the comments. Yes, the recording will be available and posted on the food bank website. So you can have, you can go back and rewatch this and get ideas if you would like. On the food bank website, these sheets will be posted. Let me go back in my notes and remind myself where we put them. We are going to be putting them in the agency resources and forms section on the website. Right. Oh, Carrie already responded to that. Yes. Donald, can you unmute yourself? I can't hear you.
Okay,
Okay, go
can
ahead.
you hear me?
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Okay. I know that you are focusing a lot, certainly on the fresh fruits and vegetables. And are there some studies that indicate that the canned fruits and vegetables, as well as frozen, are equally as nutritious? I know that there are certain times when I can't get the fresh fruits and vegetables, they're out of season, and so we do distribute the canned fruits and vegetables to kidney beans, things like that. I know there are pictures on each can, so regardless of whether you can read or understand English, you know that it's a kidney bean or canned corn or green bean or asparagus or something like that.
In here. Yes, the nutritional value between fresh, frozen, and canned are very comparable. There may be the one thing, especially canned fruits and vegetables, the negative with those is that they're canned in salt or sugar. But if you, one of the things you could do is advise your guests that if you drain them and rinse them under running water, you can cut the amount of salt or sugar out of those cans by half. So it does cut back on it. It's not going to completely eliminate it. Also look for no sugar added or fruits that are canned in their natural or 100% juice. Or low sodium option beans or vegetables. So, it's not going to eliminate the salt and sugar in the canned goods, but nutritionally speaking, as far as the vitamins and minerals, it's very comparable to getting the fresh. Fresh isn't always best because especially when fruits and vegetables are out of season, not only are they don't have the same flavor as well. So all forms matter and all forms are great ways to get them in. So yes, we are focusing, we like to focus on fresh fruits and vegetables as much as possible because that's what's being asked for. But by providing the frozen and the canned, they are great options to provide as well, nutritionally speaking.
Can I ask another question?
Yes.
The last order that I placed with the regional food bank, I did opt to purchase some salvage vegetables. And what it turned out to be, I think I ordered 8 or 10 cases of a salvage vegetable, and it was packages of coleslaw. The entire was the packages of coleslaw. Is there any way to, certainly there's cabbage and carrots and things like that. Is there any way to be more specific when what is ordering a salvage food vegetable? I can't hear you.
Sorry, I'm trying to mute myself to avoid some of the, I know there's a lot of feedback and I don't understand why when other people are unmuted. So I'm trying to cut back on that. I forget that I'm muted as well. So correct me if I'm wrong, Carrie, but when in salvage fruits and vegetables, there is no definitive way to tell what's going to be in the box of that, correct, Kara?
Correct.
Right.
Unless, if there is enough of a product we can identify it with its own label, but if there's not enough of a product, then it should be an assortment of product. I wouldn't expect you to get 8 cases of coleslaw, however. So can you reach out to us separately afterwards, Don? I'd appreciate that.
All right, Thomas, I see your hand raised there. Did you have a question?
Oh, of course I do. Hi, how are you? Thank you for doing this. This is absolutely fantastic. Am I coming through all right?
Yes, you are. Yeah.
Oh, look at that. Through all the snow and everything. I did see a response from Carrie on the procurement aspect. Depends on, and I'll just speak for myself here. It all depends on how much more for those culturally appropriate items. I know I've had struggles with trying to develop partnerships with Goya and some other companies. They don't seem very interested, or they don't have the available products. So, but are we talking 15% increase? Are we talking 50 to 100% increase? That would change. Also, I have gone through what Don went through with ordering free or salvage produce, and received, I think one time we received 1,200 pounds of lettuce, all lettuce, shredded lettuce. It was fun.
Oh,
So I wanted to bring that up. Sorry, but this was great. Thank you. I'm glad I joined.
yes, yes. I'm gonna read the response that Carrie gave to you about, so that in case anybody else didn't read it in the chat, you asked what the timeline for procurement of some of the items are. Just for everybody else, the timeline for this will be as soon as possible, but it will still take time. We have to find appropriate vendors, and there is still some delay in procurement. Another factor we need to determine is if the food is HIPNAP eligible. What's everyone's thoughts? Are you willing to spend more for an item that is HIPNAP eligible? Are you willing to spend more on kosher or halal? Are you willing to spend funds on items that are not HIPNAP eligible? So what are everybody's thoughts on that? I thought that was important to read back so that everybody can kind of help us with our feedback on that. Are you willing to spend more on HIPNAP eligible items that are part of the culturally relevant foods? Feel free, if you want, you can respond or type in the chat box. There's also a little tab on the bottom that it's called reactions. If you throw up a reaction, we can kind of gauge where everybody's at with I mean, I know it all depends on what the foods are that are coming through and that sort of thing. But for items, again, that are HIPNAP eligible, kosher, halal, are you willing to spend more? All right.
And I would really appreciate any feedback on that, because that has been, I don't want to say a roadblock, but that is really slowing us down and moving forward as we try to determine which way to go. To answer Tom's question, we don't know how much of an increase it will be.
Yeah.
But we're not getting good feedback from, knowing how much more people are willing to spend.
All right, so yeah, just so you all know, the discussions are going on and we are trying to move forward as much as we can to provide, to get whatever products, and we will let you know. There's a comment, it's most effective if we spend a bit more, but will be useful for the clients, for example, for the Latin culture, things like corn flour. So yeah, so we have to look at the products and find out which ones are available as far as for us being able to get in. Another comment, I would spend more to better serve our clients. And we will make sure that we are keeping you aware of all the changes and anything that we can get in that reflects off of these cultural food sheets for you. What other questions do you have for us? All right. I'm sure more questions will pop up once you've taken a look maybe through the food sheets a little bit more. So again, feel free to reach out to us. I can, if you give me a second, I'll share the slide again with our contact information. That's not the slide I want.
Kristen, I have a question.
Yes.
So this is Kristen from Fishkill Food Pantry. My question to you is it available to us some sort of standards as far as rating foods? I mean, I know you're a dietitian, I'm a dietitian as well, but for the pantry and our volunteers, as far as putting like a star on the shelves, as you were discussing before, for the quote unquote healthier foods, are there standards like this amount of sodium, this amount of fat, this amount of sugar, etc.?
Kristen, I can take this one.
Okay.
Okay. So Kristen, some food banks have adopted a rating system like you're referring to. We have not gone that route. What I can tell you though is that if the co-op food is HIPNAP eligible, it is meeting sodium requirements as well as the added sugar, the no added sugar requirement. Our USDA product, 99% of the time is no added salt, canned vegetables, and fruit packed in juice or water. So while we don't have those CHOP ratings or the star ratings, we do have some built-in tools that you can use to determine if the food is meeting sodium requirements. In terms of sodium requirements, the level is 140 milligrams or less per serving of a canned vegetable. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, thanks.
You're welcome.
And also too, I want to know in the chat box, Tracy brought up, it seems like spices are a requested item, but they don't seem like real food to me, more like seasonings. Is there a strong demand for spices? Thomas, you said you do spice and seasoning drives, which I think are phenomenal because spices and seasonings add to, especially the fresh fruits and vegetables, to get more people to eat them. They're great to have. And I will say that there have been discussions about finding some spices and seasonings to get into inventory. So I want you to know that that is a line of communication that is out there to see what we can get as far as that route. Danny asked, is there a plan or a timeline to make staple items such as white rice, dried black beans, masaka, and dried chilies available? Is there a plan or a timeline to make, oh, that's repeated somehow. Yes, in fact, we do have, I haven't seen the inventory list recently, but Carrie, can you check me on this as far as rice and beans, dried beans available?
Yeah, we do try to keep white rice in on a regular basis. Sometimes it is out of inventory as we await for the next load to come in. We also have recently placed an order for 3 types of dried beans. That would be black beans, kidney beans, and garbanzo beans. We have not looked into dried chilies at all. And I can tell you in terms of the masa flour, we have looked into it in the past, and the price that we could get is double what you could get if you were to buy it yourself in Walmart. Which again brings us back to that question of, would you be willing to spend $5 for a bag of masa flour with your HIPNAP funds if you could get it with your own funds for $2.50 from a local vendor? Which is why we haven't pursued it any further.
Carrie, can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Pat.
How are you? I was listening to what you just said, and I think that with the overall cost of everything going up, and if we can get it cheaper at a local store, I think it might be better to do it that way. It depends on what your clientele, how many people you have that need that item. So that might be a way to look at it. But I was just thinking about, one of the things I was so happy to see is there's so many more low sodium items available now. I'm just like jumping for joy over that. But I would love to be able to have some spices. But what we did a spice drive, and that kind of helped out some of our people that were coming to the pantry. So I think that's another way to go. And if we can get them locally, you'd have to buy it kind of like in bulk. And I'm not really sure, like smaller things, you have to buy more than one. But I know I had asked at a couple of stores and they were saying, because they've already made donations to the food bank, that they were not so willing to give out to individual pantries. So that was an item that an issue that I had. So we just started buying what we needed, or people have donated.
Thanks, Patricia.
What other questions? This is great feedback, guys. These are great questions. And we appreciate the communication here too. We appreciate you asking us this. All right. Well, I want to say thank you again for joining us today. We really do appreciate it. We really hope that you find these tools helpful. And I can't say enough. Again, please feel free to reach out to us if there are any other questions or concerns you have on the tools, any help that we can provide along the way as well. We hope you all enjoy the rest of your day. Like I said, I hope nobody's on the road today, but if you are, please be safe and enjoy the snow. And spring is coming soon, somewhere. All right. Thank you so much. Take care, everybody.